Stop walking. The $250,000 mobility trap destroying your hips. You've been told to walk more to stay young. But one hidden habit in your gait is grinding your hips like sandpaper, step after step, until the bill shows up. The real danger isn't the steps. It's how you're taking them. Here's the trap: a $250,000 cascade. Surgery, rehab, home health, lost independence, and home modifications that can drain savings fast. We'll break down those numbers later so you can see exactly where the money leaks. And that famous 10,000 step goal, it wasn't born in a medical lab. It came from a 1965 Japanese pedometer campaign called the Montpellier. Great marketing, not a guideline. I've seen clients' pain drop and their walking confidence jump after fixing just 3 tiny gait errors. Keep walking the way you do now, and you're doing nursing home math, not fitness, especially since Medicare doesn't cover long-term custodial care. Stay with me. In the next hour, you'll get a safer walking plan that protects your hips and your wallet. Why this matters: the hidden cost curve. Let's set the stakes. A little stiffness today feels cheap, but let that stiffness turn into a hip injury, and the bill balloons fast. The costs aren't just medical. They're logistical, emotional, and they hit every part of your life. Here's the cascade most people don't see coming. First comes pain that you walk off, then a misstep, a catch in the groin, a few nights of bad sleep. Your muscles weaken, your balance slips, and your stride gets sloppier. One fall later, you're facing a fracture. Now you're in the system: hospital, surgery, infection risk, bed rest, and the muscle loss that turns weeks into months. Every day you're less steady, less independent, and further from the walks you love. Now, the money: hospital, surgeon, anesthesia, and facility fees for a hip surgery often land in the $30,000 to $50,000 plus range. That's before complications. Add transport to appointments, home health visits, durable medical equipment, and caregiver hours. Layer and time your spouse or adult child misses from work, trips you have to cancel, and the ripple into your daily routines. The invoice isn't just a number, it's a smaller life. Medicare helps, but there are gaps that matter. In 2026, the Medicare Part A deductible is projected at $1,736 per benefit period. Skilled nursing facility care has copays from days 21 through 100. And the big one: Medicare doesn't cover long-term custodial care, the help with bathing, dressing, cooking, and supervision that families end up paying for when mobility slips. That's where savings evaporate. I want you to hear this clearly. The way you walk today changes that curve. Clients who cleaned up their mechanics, fixed their foot stability, knee tracking, and hip extension, cut pain, prevented flare-ups, and avoided the whole hospital to rehab conveyor belt. Several saved tens of thousands simply because they never triggered the cascade in the first place. The emotional cost is real too. Fear of falling shrinks your world. You skip evening walks, stop visiting friends, sit more, sleep worse, and lose strength faster. That fear becomes its own injury. But confidence works the same way in reverse. When your gait is stable, your steps feel smooth, your cadence is steady, and you've got a plan for pain days, your life gets bigger again. Most people think more steps equals more health. But if each step is a small mistake, more becomes worse. The good news is you don't need perfect, just better. Small changes inform reduced joint stress immediately. Less pinch at the front of the hip, less outer thigh burn, fewer sharp jolts. That's momentum you can feel within a week. So here's the point. You can pay a little attention now, learn a safer pattern, do a 5-minute primer before walks, adjust your stride and cadence, or you can pay a lot later. We're going to make the pay a little now path simple, measurable, and doable. Next, I'll expose the 10,000 step myth that pushes people into overuse and show you how quality beats quantity for your hips. Every time, what you've been sold, the 10,000 step lie. Let's pull the mask off the most famous number in fitness. The 10,000 step target didn't come from doctors or a clinical trial. It came from a 1965 Japanese pedometer called the Monpake, literally 10,000 step meter, a smart marketing hook that stuck. Decades later, devices baked that number in as the default goal, and we all absorbed it as gospel. Helpful idea? Sometimes. Scientific guideline? No. And for older adults, it can push you into exactly the kind of overuse that wrecks hips. Here's the thing most people miss. It's not step count versus the couch. It's quality versus quantity once you're past a base level. For older adults, health gains often plateau around 7 to 8,000 steps per day. Past that, the return you get from more volume is small unless your form holds up. If your gait has even one small error, each extra 1,000 steps adds more grinding than benefit. The more is better belief becomes a trap. This clicked for me when a client proudly hit 12,000 steps a day for a month, and her hip felt worse. She wasn't weak. She was sloppy, duck feet, a little hip drop, and a hard heel strike with a long stride. Every extra step was like tapping a chisel against the labrum. We cut her to 8,000, tuned her cadence, and cleaned up her knee over toe line. Pain dropped by half in 2 weeks. Same time invested, better steps. Let me show you exactly why the number alone fails your hips. Bones, cartilage, and tendons don't just care about how much you load them. They care about the direction and timing of that load. Your hip joint is happiest when force travels through a stable foot, a knee that tracks over the second toe, and a pelvis that stays level as you roll from heel to toe. When you overstride to hit your number, you slam the brakes with every step. That creates spike forces at the front of the hip that pinch sensitive structures. Multiply that by thousands, and you get the dull ache that turns into a sharp catch. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Reduce braking, increase rhythm. Shorter steps, slightly quicker cadence. And a foot tripod on landing spread force, and keep the hips centered. Quality steps count double. 10 minutes at the right rhythm beats 30 minutes of hard heel strikes and wobbling knees. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Force direction first, volume second. Now, why does the 10,000 rule stick so hard? Because it's easy to measure. Your watch chirps, you get a dopamine hit, and you feel done. But bodies aren't bank accounts where any deposit counts the same. They're more like gardens. Water matters, but too much, applied the wrong way, drowns the roots. For your hips, volume is water. Mechanics are the watering can. Before we continue, you need to understand recovery. Tissues remodel when you alternate stress with rest. Chasing higher counts day after day with poor mechanics robs you of that adaptation window. You feel stiff, so you walk more. The stiffness is your early warning sign, not a quota, you failed. The fix is to cycle volume while you improve form. Build for 3 weeks, then take a lighter week. Most seniors feel best near that 7,000 to 8,000 zone when their form is dialed in. Go above it when you're sleeping well, pain is -3, and your cadence stays steady. Drop below when pain creeps or your stride gets choppy. Common mistakes to avoid right now. Overstriding to chase steps creates a heel smash and front hip pinch. Letting toes flare out, your knee collapses inward and twists the hip. Walking slower to save energy. Slow plus long stride equals more braking. Ignoring fatigue. When your cadence drops, form unravels fast. Quick when you can try today. Set a metronome to a comfortable beat between 100 and 115 steps per minute. Take shorter steps and keep your chest gently over your hips. Stay on level ground for 10 minutes. Notice how the landing feels softer and the push-off smoother. If you've had outer thigh burn or a front hip snap, that rhythm alone often cuts it down. The reason this works is simple physics plus better muscle timing. You reduce peak impact by landing under your center of mass. You keep the knee aligned so force tracks cleanly, and you let the glutes share the work with the calves. Fewer spikes, more smooth load. That's cartilage-friendly walking. There's a secret step that makes this 10x easier. Coming up next, your body cheats to hit the number with 3 common patterns. Once you can spot those cheaters, you'll know exactly how to turn more into better, protect your hips, and still get all the heart and brain benefits of daily walking. The 3 cheater patterns destroying hips. Your body is clever. When it's tired, tight, or weak in one spot, it borrows from somewhere else to keep you moving. That borrowing shows up as 3 cheater patterns that quietly grind the hip. Fixing these is the fastest way to turn every step into a safer step. Let's spot them, feel them, and start changing them without stopping your walks. Cheater 1, duck feet. That's when your toes point out more than your knees. It looks harmless, even relaxed, but here's the problem. With the foot turned out, your thigh bone rotates outward and the front of the hip narrows. Now each step drives the femur toward the front of the socket, creating a pinch at the labrum. You'll notice front groin tightness, a click when you shift weight, or that sharp stop at the top of a high step. The thing most people miss. Duck feet often start at the foot, not the hip. A collapsed arch spins the leg outward like a screw. Self-test for duck feet. Stand barefoot, march in place 10 times, stop and look down. If your feet land wider than hip width and your toes point out more than 15 degrees, you've got it. Now walk a hallway and glance at your reflection or shadow. See the toes flaring? That's your sign. Quick fix 2. Try today. Narrow your stance just a touch and gently aim your second toe where you want to go, not your big toe. Keep it subtle. Forcing the feet straight can stress the knees. You're looking for toes slightly out, knees slightly in, landing with the knee tracking over the second toe. Cheater 2, waddle gait, also called a hip drop. When you stand on your right leg, your left hip should stay level or rise a hair. With a waddle, the non-stance hip drops, the torso leans, and the pelvis rocks side to side. That signals a sleepy glute medius, the side, but that holds your pelvis up. The fallout? Your knee caves inward, your foot rolls, and the hip joint takes a twisting load it hates. Symptoms show up as outer thigh burn, deep ache on long walks, and fatigue that makes your form unravel faster. Self-test for waddle. Stand sideways to a mirror. Lift one knee to hip height. Does the opposite hip drop? Do you lean your torso to help? Now, hold a slow step for 2 seconds, each stride down a hallway. If you sway side to side, or your belt line tilts, that's the pattern. Here's a quick win. Think zipper tall, and push the floor away on the standing leg. Imagine a string lifting the top of your head while you gently press the big toe, little toe, and heel into the ground. Hold each step for a beat. You're telling the glute med, do your job. Even one lap with that cue smooths the sway. Cheater 3, toe push-off only. This is when you barely use the hip to extend. You just tip forward and push with the toes. The heel pops up early, the stride shortens behind you, and the low back starts doing what the glutes should. You'll feel front hip pinch, tight hip flexors, and sometimes a cranky lower back after longer walks. The reason this one sneaks in is simple. Hip extension is hard when you sit a lot. The hip flexors get stiff, so the body avoids opening the hip and dumps the job to the calf. Self-test for toe push-off. Pause mid-stride with one foot back. Can you keep your back heel down for a second without arching your lower back or twisting your pelvis? If not, you're likely bailing to the toes too soon. Another tell, look for a loud, hard heel strike in front and a quiet, weak finish behind. To nudge this right, try a quiet front, strong back cue. Land softly under your body. Then feel the glute on the back leg squeeze you forward as the heel leaves the ground late. Think roll through instead of pop up. Now here's where most people mess up. They try to fix all 3 at once. Don't. Pick the one that's loudest. If your toes flare, start there. If your hips sway, own that. If your calves burn and your low back aches, go after push-off. Give it 1 week of focused attention during the first 10 minutes of each walk. Then layer in the next. Common mistakes to avoid. Overcorrecting duck feet into pigeon toes. Your knees will complain. Forcing a level pelvis by clenching your back. Let the side but hold it, not your spine. Driving push-off with speed. Control first, speed later. A micro story to lock this in. Last week, a client who felt old at 7,500 steps filmed her gait. Classic hip drop and toe-only push. We added a toe spread, warm-up, aimed knees over second toes, and set a metronome to 105. She held each step for a beat to wake the glute med, then focused on finishing behind her with a gentle glute squeeze. 3 sessions later, her front hip snap was gone, and her outer thigh burn cut in half. Same distance, better mechanics. Once you can spot these cheaters, you've got leverage. You don't need to stop walking, you need to make each step cleaner. Next, we'll build the foundation that makes these fixes stick. A stable foot that spreads force instead of shoving it into your hip. Foot tripod and toe spread reset. This is the foundation. If the foot wobbles, the knee chases it, the hip pays for it. When the foot is stable, force travels cleanly up the chain, and your hip stays centered instead of jammed forward. The thing most people miss is that stability doesn't mean stiffness. You want a foot that spreads, grips lightly, and rolls like a tripod with some spring. Here's the why in plain terms. Your hip joint is a ball and socket that likes predictable load. A collapsing arch spins the leg outward, your knee caves in, and the front of the hip narrows. That's the pinch you feel on steps, curbs, and long walks. Build a foot tripod, and that twist disappears. You'll feel smoother landing, quieter steps, and less outer thigh tension because the glute can work instead of fight a wobble. What is the tripod? 3 points sharing pressure. Big toe base, little toe base, and heel. At a light, external torque, which just means you gently screw your foot into the ground without moving it, like tightening a jar lid a quarter turn. That small cue stacks your arch and lines your knee over your second toe. Don't crank it. Think 10 to 20% effort. You're creating shape, not a cramp. Let me show you exactly how to reset this. In 60 seconds before every walk, kick off your shoes. Stand hip width. Soften your knees, just a whisper of bend. Now, press your heel down, then press the base of the big toe and the base of the little toe so all 3 points feel the floor. If one lifts when you press another, you're pushing too hard. Back off until the pressure feels even. Next, the toe spread drill. Keep the tripod. Without curling, try to spread your toes like you're widening a fan. If they won't move, try this. Lift all toes, keep the tripod points down. Then set the big toe first, little toe second, and let the rest land. Hold for 3 breaths. You'll feel the arch come alive. The goal isn't perfect separation, it's waking up control. 2 rounds of 10 seconds is plenty. Now, add gentle torque. With the tripod set, imagine you're turning each foot outward against sticky floor, but you don't let the foot actually rotate. Feel how the arch lifts a bit. That's the shape you want. Keep breathing. If your glutes light up, good, you just connected foot to hip. Hold 5 breaths, relax, and repeat once. Okay, so the tricky part is not turning this into a claw. Common mistakes: gripping the floor with curled toes, locking the knees, or smashing the arch up so hard you shift to the outside edge of the foot. Fixes are simple. If you claw, think toes long. If you lock the knee, bounce it gently and keep the micro bend. If you tip to the outside edge, lightly repress the big toe base until pressure balances again. Let's take it into a walk. Stand tall, tripod on. Take a slow step and land with the tripod under your body, not way out in front, as your weight rolls forward. Feel the pressure travel from heel to midfoot to big toe base. Then a soft push through the big toe and second toe together. That roll through keeps force directed straight instead of twisting your hip. Do 10 slow steps like this in your hallway. Then add your normal pace while keeping that quiet tripod landing. A quick win you can get today. Rate your front hip pinch and outer thigh burn before the drill. Take a 10-minute walk with tripod focus. Then rate it again. Many people see a 1 to 2 point drop the very first session. If that happens, you just prove to your body that mechanics matter more than mileage. Troubleshooting cues for real life. Sidewalk camber pulling you outward. Nudge your big toe base down a hair more on the downhill foot. Shoes too stiff to feel the tripod. Loosen the laces near the toes and focus on the heel midfoot roll. Feet go numb? You're gripping. Shake it out. Reset long toes. Soften knees. Balance wobbly. Narrow your stance a touch, not a lot, and hold each step for a beat. What about shoes? You don't need a special brand today. Aim for a wider toe box so your toes can actually spread, a flexible forefoot so you can roll, and avoid marshmallow soft stacks that hide the ground. If your shoe forces your big toe inward, your knee will follow and your hip will notice. The right shoe makes the tripod easier. It doesn't create it. Now, you might be thinking, won't this slow me down? For a week, yes. You're teaching your nervous system new wiring. Slower is fine if the landing is clean. Once the tripod becomes automatic, speed returns with less effort and less jolt. Here's the checkpoint. If you remember nothing else from this pillar, remember heel big, toe little, toes share the load, knees soft, toes long. That one pattern lets every other fix stick. Without it, you'll chase symptoms. Give this 60 seconds before every walk for the next 7 days. Then we'll stack knee over second toe on top, and you'll feel your stride line up like rails. Once you nail that, everything else clicks. Knee over second toe plus soft bend. With the foot tripod set, your next job is to steer the knee. When the knee caves inward or snaps straight, the hip labrum takes a twist it can't tolerate for long. Keep the knee stacked and slightly soft, and load flows safely through the chain. Think of this pillar as the track that guides your train. Why this matters: valgus torque, that inward cave, doesn't just stress the knee. It drags the femur inward and forward in the socket, which is exactly where people feel the front hip pinch. Over thousands of steps, that angle rubs sensitive tissue and fires up outer thigh tension to try to hold you together. Mastering a soft knee bend with clean tracking reduces those shear forces right away. The payoff is fewer jolts, smoother roll through, and hips that stop complaining after 10 minutes. What to do? Micro bend plus second toe tracking during stance. Micro bend means you never lock out. If straight is 0 and a deep bend is 10, live at a 1 or 2 during the stance phase. That tiny cushion keeps your quads and glutes sharing the load and prevents the joint from slamming. Second toe tracking is your aiming line. From the moment your foot lands to the moment you push off, your kneecap should point in the same direction as your second toe. Let me show you exactly how to groove it with the hallway line drill. Find a line on the floor, tile grout, a wood seam, or lay down a strip of painter's tape. Stand with your right foot centered over the line, tripod on, knees soft. Step your left foot forward and place it so your second toe points straight along the line. Now slowly shift your weight onto the left leg. Watch your knee. If it drifts inside the line, gently nudge it outward until kneecap and second toe match. Hold for 2 seconds, then roll through and switch sides. Do 10 slow passes at a walking tempo. Once that feels natural, add speed in layers. First, normal walking pace while holding the micro bend. Then a brisk pace while keeping the knee from wobbling. Finally, sprinkle in 5 focus steps every minute. Land, check toe line, hold the soft bend. Roll through, repeat. Those micro reps teach your brain the pattern without turning your whole walk into homework. The thing most people miss is what the hip and foot are doing while the knee tracks. If the arch collapses, the knee will try to follow it inward no matter how hard you think straight. So reboot the tripod before each pass. At the hip, picture your thigh bone gliding straight back as you push off. That slight backward glide keeps the femur centered and frees the knee to aim cleanly over the toe. Common mistakes and easy fixes. Snapping the knee straight at heel strike. Fix. Cue soft knee on landing, then pretend you have a spring under your kneecap that never fully compresses, letting the knee drift in when you get tired. Fix. Shorten the stride a touch and increase cadence.